When we think about the mind and the brain, it's pretty complex. And when we think about some people who have reoccurring thoughts, they happen to them over and over again. And some of them, they won't stop. Well, we call those repetitive behaviors. They're not disorders. We call them repetitive behaviors. So what is a repetitive behavior? Show of hands. How many has made a New Year's resolution on New Year's and broke it before the night was over? Keep your hands up. Who did it the second time the next year? Yeah, me. I quit smoking about 150 times, and I was on a lot of weight issues. Those are repetitive behaviors. So let's take a look at that. Sometime when a child is very young, a significant emotional event happens to them, and something called a block occurs that is amnesic. Amnesia is a walling off or a stopping of the recall of a memory. So what I'm talking about here is the mind puts up a defense that does not allow you to think about that memory. So how does that work? How does people work with that? People who are working with PTSD and other repetitive behaviors go to therapy, EMDR, tapping, psychotherapy. There's a lot of other stuff. But there's a new tool out there that's only 8 years old. It's called the CR process. So how's the CR process works? Kind of interesting. We don't use the story or the history of a memory. We use your 5 senses. How many can smell fresh baked bread? Just like that, right? But it might take you a couple seconds to remember a memory associated with that bread. But if we take you to a memory in your past where you like to remember it a lot, and instead of you telling me the story of the memory, we use your 5 senses as an inventory system to come to terms with what's going on in the memory. So what we're talking about is a very specifically sequenced and worded way of getting to PTSD, suicide ideation, other things that you can read up there. I don't need to do that. But what we do is we ask you a bunch of questions about a memory. How many of you have been to a lake or the ocean or whatever? Okay, like this lady's doing. All right? We don't care what the lady did to get there. We don't care who's there with her. We want to know about what does her 5 senses tell us about the memory and how she equates that memory to different aspects of the memory itself. Now, this is a really nice memory. There are no bad memories or no good memories. They're simply memories. For some of you, this can be a grief memory, and for some of you, it can make you very happy. Okay? It's individual. But when we go to a memory, and there's a lot going on in the memory, it's very difficult to keep the person out of emotion. So what do? When you stop the motion of a memory, you stop the emotion of the memory. So a person is completely still and out of emotion when they describe these memories. So like this guy sitting on the log here. He's not only touching a log, but a log is touching him. What is he drinking? Well, there's some water there, possibly water. What else does he taste? What does he hear sitting there? And where is that going to take us when we start to talk about the last 2 sentences, and that is sight. Now, my pretty face is up there with my bride and my 2 dogs. What else do we see in the picture? There's cars, there's lights, but behind the person who took the picture, there's something else. And we can find that out because we use the entire scene of the memory to do that. And while we're doing that, we do something that's very unique. We watch for involuntary movement of voluntary muscles. This is the voluntary movement of a muscle. This, while they're talking about somebody in a memory, is involuntary movement because they're not consciously paying attention to it. So what's the big deal with this? Well, when we go through these memories, we're looking at, let's use the Christmas tree lights as a very good example. When you want the Christmas tree lights to turn out, maybe you got too many reds on there or too many blue colors. but you can't find the place where it's plugged in. So what we do is we find the place where it's plugged in, and we also find a memory back in childhood coming in the back door around the block that I talked to you about before. Now here's the kicker. There's somebody in that memory when you get through to the other end who caused that emotional event in the first place. Okay? That person caused you a lifetime of suffering and pain, or somebody that you know. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But more importantly, we tell that person off. We yell at them, scream at them, cuss at them, and get rid of all of that stuff. And here's the place where we visit when we're done. For the first time in your life, you have the ability to be in complete inner peace, no turmoil. The plug is found, the Christmas tree lights are disengaged, and you're part of society again, all right? Now, what are these people doing? Who do we check? 80% of the urbanized population of the world have some sort of repetitive behavior. Veterans, males, females, PhDs, non-high school graduates are some of my clients in 12 countries, in 25 US states in just 6 years. So we're really wide and we're not really tall, but we have a question and answer sequence that works consistently, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it at some point later on in life. And thank you for your time tonight.